When you think about Julius Caesar, you probably think about his assassination. But that was just the beginning. So today, we're going to dig into the chaotic, bloody aftermath of his death to see how one single act of violence spiraled into a civil war that tore Rome completely apart.
And really, it all boils down to this one question. How on earth did one speech, just one funeral speech, manage to spark a civil war and basically bring down an empire? Well, let's get into it. Okay, so let's set the scene. Caesar is dead. The conspirators, they think they've done it. They've saved Rome from a tyrant. Or at least that's what they're telling themselves. But now comes the hard part, right? They've got to convince the Roman people that what they did was for the best.
So to really get why they did this, you have to get inside Caesar's head for a minute. Literally moments before he's killed, he says this. He compares himself to the North Star. Unmovable, unchanging, basically a god among men. And that right there, that's the kind of arrogance that had the conspirators sweating. It's exactly what they were afraid of.
And this is where it all goes down. It's a total showdown, logic versus emotion. Brutus gets up there first. He gives this very calm, very rational speech. He's like, look, it's not that I didn't love Caesar, but I love Rome more. He frames it as a choice, freedom or slavery. And hey, for a minute, it actually works. The crowd is with him. But then Mark Antony takes the stage, and he just plays them like a fiddle. He appeals straight to their hearts. He's dripping with sarcasm, calling Brutus an honorable man over and over again, while pointing out all the good things Caesar did. He even starts weeping. It's pure theater, and it completely works. He doesn't just win the argument, he captures their hearts.
But what was Antony really after? This quote tells you everything you need to know. When he thinks no one's watching, standing over Caesar's body, the mask comes off. The grieving friend disappears. And he basically prophesies this absolutely brutal civil war that's going to tear Italy apart. So you see, this was never just about getting justice for Caesar. Oh no, this was about revenge, pure and simple. And Antony's speech, it does exactly what he wanted. It unleashes a mob. These people are just consumed by grief and rage, and all reason just goes out the window. They start hunting down the conspirators, and in this awful, tragic mix-up, they find this guy, Cinna the poet, and they tear him to pieces just because he has the same name as one of the killers. It's a terrifying look at how fast a crowd can turn into a mindless, violent monster. So, the conspirators are forced to flee the city, and that leaves this huge power vacuum. And the men who step up to fill it, well, they reveal a much colder, more calculating side than anyone saw coming.
And this is what rises from the ashes, a new government called the Second Triumvirate. You've got Mark Antony, Caesar's young heir Octavius, and this other general, Lepidus. And what's their first order of business? Rebuild? Heal the city? Nope. They sit down at a table and start drawing up a hit list of anyone who might be a threat. Now, I want you to remember the Antony we saw earlier, right? The passionate guy weeping over his friend's body, acting purely out of love and grief. Got that image in your head?
Okay, now look at this. This is the real Mark Antony, the cold-blooded politician. He's talking about his supposed partner, Lepidus, and he compares him to a horse. Just a creature you teach to fight, you use for a job, and then, you get rid of him. The passionate friend is totally gone. What's left is this ruthless operator who sees everyone, even his allies, as just pieces on a chessboard. All right, so while Antony and Octavius are busy taking over, what's happening with the guys who started all this? Well, their alliance is starting to fall apart. The so-called liberators of Rome, they're at each other's throats. The scene shifts to a military camp. Brutus and Cassius are getting ready for war, but the pressure of being on the run, of leading an army, it's just been too much. Their friendship is about to snap, and what happens next is one of the most incredible arguments you'll ever read. Brutus, who's always the idealist, just lets Cassius have it. He accuses him of taking bribes, of having an itching palm. For Brutus, this is like the worst thing imaginable. They killed Caesar to stop corruption, and now he thinks his best friend is doing the exact same thing. And Cassius, who's always a bit of a drama queen, is just completely crushed by this. His reaction is so over the top, he whips out his dagger, bares his chest, and basically tells Brutus, "Go on then, kill me if you think I'm so terrible." And just like that, all the air goes out of the room. The fight stops. Because Brutus finally admits what's really been eating at him. His wife, Portia, she's dead. She killed herself, completely overwhelmed by everything that's happened.
It's this heartbreaking moment where you realize the massive personal price these men are paying.
So they make up, but things are heavy. Brutus and Cassius march their armies to a place called Philippi to face Antony and Octavius. But it feels like something else is at work here, like the battle might already be decided before a single sword is drawn.
And then things get spooky. The night before the big battle, the supernatural just crashes the party. Caesar's ghost shows up in Brutus's tent. Can you imagine? It's this chilling reminder of what he did. And even Cassius, the guy who never believed in any of this stuff, is getting freaked out. He's seen these bad omens. The eagles that used to follow their army are gone, replaced by ravens and crows. You know, birds that eat dead bodies. Not a good sign.
Then, in the heat of the battle, it all comes down to a stupid, tragic mistake. Cassius sees his friend Titinius get surrounded by troops, and he immediately thinks the worst. He thinks it's over, that he's sent his best friend to his death. He's so filled with despair that he tells his servant to kill him, and he does. But here's the kicker. It was a misunderstanding. Those weren't enemy soldiers, they were his own men coming to celebrate a victory. Titinius rides back, totally fine, only to find Cassius dead.
After that, it's pretty much over. The battle is lost, and Brutus knows what he has to do. Right before he dies, he says this. He's basically talking to Caesar's ghost, saying that he's taking his own life with way more conviction than he had when he killed Caesar. It's like in the end, he felt his own death was more justified.
And that's it. The war is over. The conspirators are all dead. But there's one last twist, one final judgment on the man who kicked this whole thing off. And who delivers Brutus's eulogy? Of all people, it's Mark Antony, his sworn enemy. And Antony says something amazing. He says that all the other conspirators, they did it out of envy. But Brutus was different. He says Brutus was the only one who truly believed he was doing the right thing for Rome. He calls him the noblest Roman of them all. Which brings us right back to the question that people have been arguing about for centuries. Was Brutus a patriot, a hero who killed his friend to save his country from a dictator? Or was he just a naive traitor who unleashed chaos and got everyone killed for an idea that was never going to work? What do you think?